Hi, I'm Ollie. Welcome to Possibility Space. Today I'm going to read you the Labour Party's rail plan, nationalisation in name only. Labour will, with an asterisk, bring the railways into public ownership. In 2016, Conservative Chancellor George Osborne announced a minimum wage increase in a savvy effort to defang the Living Wage Foundation, who campaign for employers to pay at least the minimum necessary for a worker to meet their basic needs. Osborne called this new wage rate the National Living Wage. It was no such thing, but the name stuck, and now the foundation are in the unenviable position of having to constantly explain the difference between the real living wage and the Tory knockoff. You won't hear much about minimum wage in this election cycle because the living wage rebrand has, coupled with inadequate but not insignificant increases, done an excellent job of knocking the wind out of the Living Wage Foundation's sails. The lesson here for the incoming Labour government is that you can co-opt and hollow out popular policies, implementing them in name only, and you'll get away with it at the ballot box. It's a lesson that Labour are already putting into practice with their plan to fix Britain's railways. Railway nationalisation scores well with voters. It's got a plus 48% net approval rating. And Labour are glomming on to this enthusiasm by claiming that their plan will, quote, bring the railways into public ownership. The disappointing reality is that there's little difference between their plan and the bailouts that the Tories are already implementing under operator of last resort measures. This basically means that if the private operators screw up, the government have to step in as an operator of last resort. Our railway system, like all privatised infrastructure, is bewilderingly complicated and fragmented by design. Whether it's the train line charging you £1 more than anyone else for having the cheek to buy a ticket with them, or asset hoarders renting out trains that they didn't build, it's always in the gaps between the fragments of the organisation that these middlemen parasite scum extract value. With that in mind, I apologise, it's about to get a bit technical, but bear in mind that these people are betting on your eyes glazing over in order to rip you off, so please do stick with me. To understand the gulf between Labour's rhetoric and the lacklustre reality of their plan, you need to understand the difference between train operating companies, these are called TOCs, and rolling stock operating companies, these are called ROSCOs. TOCs handle the customer journey that you and I see. That's ticketing, running stations, and running the services, while the ROSCOs rent the trains to the TOCs at exorbitant prices. ROSCOs are basically train landlords. They add no value to the end product versus direct ownership of the trains themselves, and they extract large profits for what were once government-owned assets. They are, by far, the biggest site of profit extraction from the British railway system, and, much to the delight of their owners, Labour are pledging to leave them completely alone. With 10 current rolling stock companies owning and leasing trains and carriages worth billions, it would be, Labour say, not responsible for the next Labour government to take on the cost of renationalising rolling stock as part of our programme of reform. It would cost somewhere around $13.5 billion to buy out all the ROSCOs. This is equivalent to about 10 years of their profits that they currently hoard in the Cayman Islands and other low-tax jurisdictions. Labour's economically illiterate position is that removing these parasites from our railway system, a move that would pay for itself in a decade or less and go on to save us tens of billions in the long run, is too expensive. This makes about as much sense as saying, houses are so expensive that I'm just going to rent forever. Actually, given national finances operate differently to personal ones, and unlike people, countries sadly don't die of old age, it makes even less sense than that. Labour's railway plan, then, is not a programme to bring railways into public ownership, but, in fact, an effort to rescue a collapsed privatisation strategy and to safeguard the private interest of Roscoe's. This is disastrous for anybody interested in and advocating for honest-to-God nationalisation. The parts of the railway network that the average voter interacts with will look like the state, and there'll be plenty of Union Jack liveries to reinforce this misconception, I'm sure. But behind the scenes, parasites on top of parasites will continue to extract profit from our crumbling system. The term Orwellian is horrendously overused by Britain's columnists, but it is apt here. Labour are abusing the term bring the railways into public ownership. And the way that they're abusing it while only tinkering around the edges of the problem is textbook Orwellian doublespeak. They will get away with it for a term or two, but every lie incurs a debt to the truth, and eventually that bill will come due. Before that happens, it's up to us on the left to articulate simple and effective solutions to the knotty problems of privatisation. We must also be very clear that what Labour are doing is not the form of nationalisation that we advocate. If we don't, the right will invariably blame the problems created by Labour on lefties, migrants and queers, and ride the incoming wave of discontent straight back into number 10. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. Possibility Space is a reader-supported publication. If you become a free subscriber, you have my thanks. If you become a paid subscriber, I might even get a microphone that will make this podcast sound a bit better. Thanks a lot. Have a great day. See you around.